Alrighty, it's off-season time here in Anaheim. Robert Pollard ready to get going, get our own actual touch on this team now. Now's where the real work happens. As you can see here, we have a new budget. We will have $234 million. Also, we do need to replace our manager because Ron Washington decided to manage 1 year, basically run our team into the dirt with having like a -9 base running runs or whatever BSR I think is the stat. And he was like, "All right, I'm out. 72, I'm gone." It's like, "All right, thanks, Ron. Thanks." But we do have to replace him now. The only guy in our major league staff we have to replace. We also ponied up a bit of cash here for Mike Trout's uh, community. What exactly was it? It was like it's the thing. He's like, oh, we really need the team's help. His community like outreach thing that they give you in this game sometimes. And then if you see here, we have the 14th highest budget in the league with the 11th highest payroll. We've got 33 million to spend right now. That's what our projection is. I am probably going to just bump this up, like I don't know, like 37. That seems fine to me. 2% increase, boom. Uh, I ideally this might go down if we could try to trade guys because I want to raise this stuff. Like ideally, my player dev is like 20 million, and my scouting is like 15 at least. Maybe we can do something like that, and it moves it down to 26 million. I'm cool with that. The player development is the main thing I would like to have high because we need to develop guys. Scouting 15, that seems fine. So yeah, we'll probably keep it like that. Maybe try to get somebody else off the books. When I said my roster is probably not going to change too much this year, I was totally forgetting about the fact that we have Anthony Rendon coming off his torn ACL and his 71 WRC plus that he had while he was playing. So uh, not great, not great. The Rendon deal. You know, ideally this is not somebody we're playing, but it's probably going to be a bit unmovable of a contract. I will probably try to get out from under it, but I doubt it's happening. Tyler Anderson might be somebody we try to swing a deal for, just because he's like an innings eater, like number 5 starter, and I would just rather not have him getting paid 13 million doing that type of work. Robert Stevenson, another guy who, maybe we try to get rid of purely because he's not my type of reliever, a guy who can't pitch multi innings, extreme fly ball. The profile is good, but he just was so bad last year, and he's about to be 32. Don't like the extreme fly ball. He's just not what I look for in relievers. Not how I build a bullpen. Evan White, I mean, probably can't move out from under him to be honest, but I mean he was good. The plan is to play him at first base, and hopefully we can channel some of this again. Also, Renhefo, probably this 5 million is going to be opened up because we are trying to get rid of him as well. If it comes down to just we don't offer him ARB, we just non-tender him, then it can be that. But maybe we try to trade something for him. Griffin Canning only has 1 more year of team control, so he is a possible guy we might look to like package in a deal. Like if we can be like, hey, we're picking up this good package that we really like from another team, and Griffin Canning would move the needle for them to cross it over until they'll accept it now. That's something we might be willing to do because we're definitely not going to be re-signing him after his team control is up. So we might as well try to get something out of him rather than just kind of letting him just walk at the end of the year because he's not the most expensive guy. I mean, he doesn't even really want. I mean, he's going to be 29. He's going to be 30 once he hits free agency. We're not really looking to extend a guy like that. And then we've got guys like Plesac is obviously not coming back. He's just not somebody we're interested in. Suarez, probably not somebody we want to bring back. Maybe as like depth. He's out of option years though, so that's probably not. We're probably trying to maybe trade him, non-tender him. A lot of guys that we are going to like either non-tender or try to like flip for some sort of controllable, preferably with options, maybe like a bullpen piece. So we've gone out and offered Brad Nelson here a 5-year contract to be our manager. He is interesting to me because I'm not really sure what any of this does with managers. I don't know if you have a manager with like really good influence mechanics, if that can like play into guys just getting TCR bumps more. I believe I've heard that somewhere, but I'm not sure if it's true. Really with managers, I just kind of look for if they're moldable, like if they have all this green, because I don't want anybody who's like, oh, I control the player strategy settings, because I do that shit. You're that's not for you, buddy. That's mine. That's mine. I control that. But I'm liking what this guy has here, so I'm probably not even gonna mold him too much. So I can mold him, but I mean I would probably not move too much this round. Like sack bunts, I would drop down. But really everything else is pretty fine in my opinion. I like the quick hook. I like the left to righty matchups. Maybe pinch hitting and stuff is a little bit too high, but you know, really the sack bunts is the only thing that I would probably mold. But then also he has good relationships with our team. So Brad Nelson, former player, former Milwaukee Brewer first baseman, barely played for them ever, but I do remember him. He is going to be our manager, assuming that he accepts this contract. So we've gone ahead and added our 6 players to the player development lab, the new thing here in the off season. Like I said, I have a Royals save that I was playing, and I was in like 2040 something in that. So I have quite a bit of experience, I would say, messing around with multi-season saves at this point. But I still wouldn't say that I'm like the most skilled when it comes to like knowing what to do here. I've usually just tried to like with the Royals. I was the point where I was competing every year. So basically, what I would do with that is I was basically trying to make AAA guys who were in AAA develop, get a little bit of a boost to develop to be ready for the big leagues. This we don't really have anybody who I'm like really desperate to like get to the bigs, who I think is like just like one really change away from being like a legit piece or something. So we kind of did a little bit of a mixed bag here. I wanted to get 2 of our 80 grade potential high school pitchers we just took in the most recent draft. Cam Caminiti, our second round pick. We decided to try to increase his velocity because I felt like that was probably something he's already got the stuff potential, the movement potential, the control potential. I just feel like maybe if he takes up his velocity a bit and he's got the high work ethic as well, maybe that helps out his pitching prowess. I've never really done this development lab before with guys so far away from the big leagues, so I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but you know we're trying things out. William Schmidt, our number 8 overall pick. We are going for movement because I feel like that is the biggest area to improve here. Maybe we can bump the movement potential up to a 55. That'd be cool. Something better than just a league average movement is what I would want ideally. We're also throwing Nelson Rada in here to increase his power. Pick this up a little bit. That could be interesting, and he could become a more viable corner outfield power bat prospect. He's already looking like a decent player, but if we can get that power ticked up a bit, that would be fantastic. We also have Tucker Flint in here. Same thing with him, trying to tick up this power a bit. If we can get that power potential up to like a 50, I'd like to see that. He has high work ethic, so that could play into it. Nelson Rada we don't know what he is. Outlook is a bit of a mystery. The guy is a mystery, folks. We don't know what he is, but still throwing him in there. And then we're trying to improve Zach Neto's shortstop defense just because he is the most obvious guy to play shortstop for us. If I have to play him at second and I can sign like a guy who's just like a glove first player in the offseason, I might do that, but you know, we probably still will do that honestly, maybe like a cheap guy. But if Neto can get a bump here in the player development lab to get this shortstop up a little bit, I wouldn't mind giving him another shot as the everyday shortstop rather than just giving up on that and having him be the second baseman. Because I mean, if he can have this type of bat as like an average glove at shortstop, I'll take that all day, every day, baby. And then we're also trying to generate some bat speed, some power with Errol Vera, who is a high work ethic, high intelligence shortstop prospect we have in Double A. He's a guy who, I mean, in real life has not really done much great things in the minors. But I mean, he looks like he could be like a decent bat if he develops. So we're trying to tick up this power a little bit and see if maybe we can pair it with some decent shortstop fielding. Who knows? I just figured he was worth throwing in as like a switch hitter, interesting guy with high work ethic and intelligence, because I do try to keep guys in here who have high work ethic at least, because that is what I find leads to the most success. If guys have high work ethic, then this is going to be a little bit better, a little bit easier for them to learn things as it goes. But we will obviously be checking back in with this in 4 to 5 weeks when Neto's done. Then we can probably try to improve another guy's defense. But the rest of these guys will not be done until like spring training. We are also going to make our first extension here in free agency. We're banking on the fact that Reed Detmers is 25, and we're going to be able to control him through 3 years of free agency through his age 30 season, these last 2 years being team options. We're just trying to bank on the fact that he is a solid player. We're going to submit this go-ahead. And if we can get him where like the most he's making is like 10.7 or whatever it was, and he turns into like this 60 grade starter, and we get some better defense behind him, I mean, that could be quite a steal of a contract, I feel like. And we definitely try to lean towards locking up guys who are young. He's only 25. He could be legit. He could be a legit piece for us. And he was solid last year, even with the terrible defense behind him. Had a bad August, but a great September, decent July, solid June. Got off to a rough start, obviously, but overall solid year for him. I would say, especially when it comes to when you look at the compared to the rest of the staff, and then with the defense. And Reed Detmers, we're gonna keep him around here as a part of our rotation for quite a while now. So I just went ahead and tried to shop Luis Rengifo here. He got no offers when it came to just a single player, either prospect or regular player. But we threw it on prospect package, allowed AIs to include additional players, and we got a couple interesting things here. The first one being Baltimore offering Colton Cowser for Rengifo and Brusdar Graterol, and Perry Minasian, we do not give a fuck what this guy says. I don't, just shut up. Oh, it shouldn't have been our best interest. Who cares, man? All right, we're giving them a guy coming off shoulder injury and a guy we're planning on non-tendering anyways, and they're gonna give us Colton Cowser, who would be our starting left fielder. All right, but anyways, I do want to keep Graterol is the thing. We just traded for him at the deadline with the intention of him helping our bullpen this year. He's got the insane control. He's got the insane movement. He throws 100 miles an hour. Obviously, he's coming off a shoulder injury. But I mean, my scout, as of recently as August, was like, actually, his movement has improved now that he's gotten a shoulder injury. So it's like, okay. So if we can try to maybe get Colton Cowser, giving them Rengifo and somebody else, if I had to assume, Graterol's probably the main piece they're after here. But if we can try to get Cowser, if they're willing to give up him, I would be solid. I would be willing to do that. And then if we can't get that done, there's another one with Rengifo that's interesting. Justin Henry Malloy might be interesting. He's more of a bat than he is a fielder, though. I mean, he's a good bat. My scout doesn't really have him scattered that well. But, maybe we go after him. Maybe we don't. We'll see. He could play some corner outfield as well. Maybe. We'll see. Ceddanne Rafaela stood out to me, though, because he's just, like, the ultimate, like, play-everywhere guy. Never going to be a huge power bat, but, I mean, he could be, like, a solid, average doubles guy with the line drive hitter, the spray profile type as well. Gonna steal a ton of bags. He can play a really solid infield as well as a really solid outfield as well, as evidenced by. Let's take a look at the major leagues here. He played third and center for them last year, played pretty much split down between the middle, and he was really good in center. Now, obviously, we don't need a center fielder right now because Mike Trout is our center fielder, but I mean, Mike Trout's going to age. Ceddanne Rafaela could be a guy who could be like our everyday center fielder, and for now, he maybe plays a corner, maybe he plays shortstop for us. Who knows? But Ceddanne Rafaela, honestly, and it might be more doable of a trade than getting Cowser because Rafaela would be they only want Rengifo and Kyron Paris, who I don't really want to give up Kyron Paris because I feel like he could be a solid player. He's only going to be he's going to be 23. I don't want to give up on him. I mean, he obviously wasn't great, but he was walking. The BABIP, I mean, the BABIP being 280 and still having this type of WRC plus is not encouraging. But you know, he's got the glove. Maybe he's never like a starter, but he's a valuable piece to have. Honestly, the more I talk this out, the more I'm like, Rafaela makes more sense for us. Get the defense in there at every position, all these positions he can play very well as like a speed contact doubles guy. Very intriguing. Very intriguing, to say the least. Obviously, wasn't great last year at the plate for them, but I mean, he's 24. Cowser is purely just like a corner outfielder, first base guy, and I mean, the bat can be really good. Is the thing? Is that bat it should play? I mean, he was pretty solid in AAA this year. Didn't play like at all in the major leagues. I mean, can I get them both, please? Can I get Cowser and Rafaela? That'd be cool. But I don't know. I feel like I'm leaning Rafaela just because he's probably more doable. And when it comes to like immediate fits, like this is what I have laid out as my possible lineup this year. And like, you know, if Neto improves, maybe he plays short and Rafael's at second. We obviously have to have Rendon at third because he's just kind of taken up that spot for the next few years. But, you know, aside from that, like Taylor Ward is left field, but I mean, ideally we don't move on from him. But I mean, I don't know. I guess it would create a logjam if we get Kazner. Adele maybe could drop back to being like the fourth outfielder. I don't know. Or maybe Evan White becomes a bench player and Shanuel plays first, and then Ward DHs and Kowser plays left. Obviously, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but you know, depth is not a bad thing to have. It's doable if we somehow manage to get both of these guys. But I mean, I don't know. My imagination's going here with picking up. I know we need pitching, but I mean, if they're going to offer stuff like this, it's just like how can you pass up the ability to get something like that? And the thing about Paris is like, yes, we like his profile. He has the glove. He could play a little bit of an outfield if we wanted to try him in like a corner, but he's not Rafaela, and he's you know, prospect ratings aren't the greatest, but like Paris is a worse rated prospect than Rafaela, and Rafaela's basically like a better version of Paris. So this trade right here would essentially be we sending off a guy we're planning on non-tendering in Rengifo, who gets like no offers back in single player. The only thing there was like, hey, the Colorado Rockies want to give you Ryan McMahon's contract, which I'm not interested in. So we're giving the guy we're trying to non-tender, and we're basically just upgrading Kyron Paris for Ceddanne Rafaela. And then this would be trying to finagle like something for Kowser. It's tough. It's tough here, folks. The other interesting one to me was the A's being like, hey, we'd give you Lawrence Butler and like he's a solid bat as well. He was in Double A last year, or yeah, Double A he tore it up. Triple A he was not good at all. He finished second in the MVP voting in the Texas League with the Midland Rockhounds, I believe is what they are. As I back out of it, but yeah, I believe they're the Midland Rockhounds is what their nickname is. But yeah, I mean Lawrence Butler, solid profile here already, like 50s across the board, but he's probably not going to get too much better. And he's a leader, but I don't really think it makes too much sense for the A's to be trading him. And also, I don't know, maybe I'm just liking Kazar more because of East Coast bias, but probably prefer Kazar here. And is this like Lawrence Butler? Yeah, he got like a big boost this year because he tore up Double A. I don't know. Maybe he is better than Kazar at this point because he starts off as just a 50 grade potential, but he absolutely tore things up, and my scout loves him. So I don't know. Maybe we can try to get him. But I'm thinking the more I talk this out, the more I'm thinking like Rafaela is the guy that we want because none of these offers they're giving us are for pitchers. And you know, if they were like, hey, we give you like a really good pitching prospect, I'd obviously prefer that. But I'm thinking like Rafaela or Butler probably. But Kowser's very tempting. But it might just be the fact that he's what am I trying to say? He's Colton Cowser, so like I know like the name of Colton Cowser just is more known than a guy like Lawrence Butler. We also just went ahead and shopped Jose Suarez because if you see here our salary arbitration screen, a lot of guys eligible for arbitration. We don't plan on bringing back Plesac, Quijada. Suarez he's only 26 and he's got like an interesting profile. He could be like a okay like spot starter type of guy. He's only 27, but he's like I said, he hit arbitration. He was not good for us this year in 87 innings, so it's not like a small sample size. He was not good in the bullpen. He's probably not good enough. Like this is going to tick down if you move him to the rotation, or I guess it doesn't tick down too much. But I mean, he's not like an ideal player, and he's also out of options. So it's like not the most flexible player. And we go ahead and offer him, and the Orioles are like, "Yo, we'll give you Jordan Westburg for him." And I'm like, Jordan Westburg, the guy who just put up a 4.6 WAR in AAA for you last year, 20 bombs, 41 doubles, sub 20 strikeout percentage, 400 OBP, 60 infield range. Can play a little bit of a left field too if you wanted him to. You know, he's not a shortstop guy, but he's just so tempting. If I can just get Jordan Westburg like straight up for Jose Suarez, that I don't know, that seems like something I should pull the trigger on. If I'm being honest here, even though Suarez is a pitcher, and I guess we could like bank on Suarez being like a solid arm for us this year with like these straight 50 everything across the board. But I'm not like I don't know. I'm not sold on Suarez here. Could probably fill a long man role. Yeah, I'm not sold on him. I'm not trying to give him like 2 million as opposed to getting like Jordan Westburg on the league minimum. That's that's what I'm thinking we're gonna do here. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, and then we're gonna figure out the situation. We're gonna get Westburg. So boom, we're gonna get Suarez, Westburg, and then maybe we can try to get something else out of them. All right, so we've done a little bit of tinkering with this Jose Suarez Jordan Westburg deal here, and we're gonna send them Suarez, and then I was like, let's see if we can get some arms from their system. Kyle Bernovich, 27-year-old starting pitcher, 45 grade, my scout thinks. High leader guy. Not the hardest thrower, but he's got a decent profile here with like the league average control, above league average movement. He's got the 260 grade changeup knuckle curve pitches. He was really solid for them. And, he was solid. He was good enough in AAA for the Norfolk Tides last year. And he's a guy who maybe he ends up in our rotation this year. Maybe he ends up as like a multi-inning reliever sort of guy to help out the bullpen. Who knows? We're just adding another arm to our system here. And then, Suarez, he looks like this. He's hitting arbitration and has no option years. Whereas Nick Vespi is also a lefty, a little bit older, but he also has like the same stats and was very good in AAA last year for them in a bullpen role. And he has less major league service, so he's making the minimum, and he has 2 option years. So that's just smart business. And Zuniga here has selfish personality class, and then Vespi has outspoken. So not the greatest. Vespi's out there talking about all his insane political beliefs. He's talking to all the fellow white guys about all the stuff that like white baseball players love to talk about. But we're just kind of swapping bad personality types for each other. But if we have enough leaders, which we're picking up another leader in this, we've a leader in this, we've got a couple other leaders, it should be fine. I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. So yeah, we're gonna do this. Picking up Westberg, Brnovich, Vespi for Suarez and Zuniga. And then I was curious what Boston would say if I offered them Mickey Moniak for Rafaela, just to kind of get like an idea of like what they would want back for him. And they were just like, hey, give us your first overall or first round pick, or give us Kyron Paris. And I don't think Rafaela is going to be in the cards here. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I wouldn't be opposed to maybe trying to give them like, because Moniak, you're thinking about he's 26. He's got one more option year. Like I would not be opposed to keeping him around, but he's not like a long-term plan guy like Rafaela would be if we pick him up. And just to make sure, I had my scout do another trip on Gratterall here to get his accuracy up to very high, and the scout is like adamant this guy is gonna be really good. He's gonna be a solid reliever for you here. So I don't think we're gonna want to give him up, because we're trying to improve the pitching this year. Rafaela, a bit of a pipe dream for us, but it would have been sick if we could have gotten him. But I don't think it's gonna happen unless we can try to do something else. Yeah, like I just sent them another offer for Moniak and Rengifo, and they're like, instead of being, or I guess it was almost last time too. They're like almost, and it's the same guys. So I don't think this is happening with Boston. So at the start of every offseason, I usually go into the front office and my salaries here, and I kind of waive and DFA any of these guys who are on like guaranteed major league deals who I don't plan on having on the major league roster, just because it frees up space if you have like 4 or 5 of these guys, and it kind of adds up if you get rid of 4 or 5 of these guys. And one of them was Andrew Wantz, and okay profile, but he's an extreme fly ball guy. He's 29. Didn't really see a need for him, and of course, extreme fly ball guy. So Colorado is like, give me that. I want that. I need that. And it's like, come on. the Rockies. Also, I'm just now realizing that Kyle Brnovich was originally drafted by the Angels in 2019 out of Elon, and then he was sent to the Orioles in return for Dylan Bundy. So we are now reacquiring Kyle Brnovich. And then just taking a quick look at some of the players in waivers right now. We tried to claim John Schreiber, who is just like a nasty side armor. He was with he apparently he ended last year with Tampa Bay. He must have got traded and then hurt. Yeah, okay. So they traded him to Tampa Bay. and then he immediately got hurt. So not ideal for the Rays there. But John Schreiber was, I guess, you know, slightly below league average ERA, slightly above league average FIP minus for the Royals. Was solid with Boston for a bit, especially 2022. He was really good with Boston. And he is just a solid reliever who's a cheap option and has options as well. So I was like, oh, maybe we could slap a K on him. But of course, it's the one team in the NL West that has a worse record than us, so they have the higher waiver claim. We're not going to be slapping a claim on him. But sometimes I like to not be like, hey, if a team has a 24-year-old on waivers, maybe don't claim him. But, 25 is usually like the cutoff of like, oh, if you're 25 and you're on waivers, then I'll claim you. But, I mean, Liberatore is days away from being 25 years old. So that counts. That counts if you ask me. So Matthew Liberatore here. The Cardinals waived him for whatever reason. Just did not have a great year for them. He hasn't really panned out for them so far. So ground ball pitcher, we love that. We are going to see if we can get something out of him here. He's got plenty of, or he has one more option. We're going to see if we can get him. So Liberatore, that'd be cool if we can get him. We also slapped the claim on Victor Vodnik because one, sick name. Two, I've seen him develop quite well in like multiple OOTPs, and he's just got a really sick look with three really good pitches, decent stuff and movement. And he was not the worst with San Francisco last year. So, and he also, I believe, has at least one option. He has 2 option years left. So, controllable, has options. That's what we're looking for here. So I claimed those 2 guys. What about Palmquist here? Now he just turned 24 and he's extreme fly ball pitching for Colorado. He's probably just desperate to get out of there. Blake Perkins with 65 range is interesting, but 2 option years. I mean, I mean, we have Jordan Adams. He's 28. We don't need him. Jordan Adams fills that role for us. We don't need to claim Blake Perkins. 4 years ago, would I have claimed Blake Perkins and have just like a billion like log jams of like depth players? Absolutely. But right now, I have restraint. We have matured. We're not going to do that. And then I think we're also going to swing a trade for Jose Quijada here. Interesting outlook. He could be a solid player. He's about to be 29, lefty. He's not the most expensive. Fly ball pitcher, don't love that. He was just awful with us in obviously a very limited sample size in the major leagues, but he's never really been good. Was not great in AAA either. I guess he had a decent FIP minus, but I mean, I don't really think that I like this guy enough to be like a guaranteed spot on the big leagues because he has no options, and we just like the guys who we can just be like, oh, you're not working out, go down, work on your stuff, come back up. We need to have some flexibility in the bullpen, and this guy just does not have that. So we shopped him, and the Giants are like, hey, we'll give you Eddie's Leonard. Eddie's, something like that. Leonard here. Super utility guy. Nothing really too great in the infield. He can play like second and third. Obviously, he can play first if we wanted him to. But, solid in the corners. Can maybe play a little bit of center field too. Not as a starter, but like he can hold his own there. A decent bat too. Like a league average, slightly a league average possibly, and like in his contact and gap power, slightly above league average, I should say. Was not the greatest in Sacramento, but he was, I mean, he like barely played for Detroit for whatever reason in AA and in AAA, and then went to Sacramento with the Giants and was like barely, I mean, he played a little bit more, but he wasn't that great. But I mean, I don't know. I like this guy's outlook. He's more useful to me than somebody like Quijada, who has no options. And we would have to put this guy on the 40 man, which I mean we're planning on doing anyways because he is Rule 5 eligible. But he's got options. This guy just makes sense to pick up for me, so we are going to do that. Eddie's Leonard. Welcome to the Los Angeles Angels. Alrighty, we are swinging another trade here. I was trying to shop Renhefo some more, and Renhefo's to the point now where just like nobody wants anything with him. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to trade Renhefo. He's just going to be non-tendered. But we did manage to see that if we checked the box for trading for veterans with Renhefo, Rafael Montero popped up. So that got my mind spinning. So Rafael Montero, I'm looking here, 11.5 million just for next year. Ground ball pitcher, throws hard. He's got some solid ratings across the board. He was pretty good for the Astros last year. Bit older than Stevenson is, but I'm like, we like Rafael Montero. We could roll with him. Trading with the Astros kind of makes me sick, but in division, we're gonna fleece them. We gotta have the confidence here. We're the ones that do the fleecing, not you guys. So Rafael Montero, he's going to come to us, and we're basically just swapping Montero and Stevenson in my eyes, and then they're throwing in a couple other arms who I think could be really good for us, and then we're just kind of throwing in this guy as like the guy where they're like, oh, well, if you add in this guy, we'll do it. And I was like, oh, you want a fly ball pitcher with a 35 potential home run allowed? Yeah, sure, there you go. But yeah, Stevenson, very similar money to Montero, but he has 2 more years of team control left. And he's an extreme fly ball pitcher with 45 home runs allowed. It's just never going to work out for him, I don't think. So, Robert Stevenson, he is going to go to the Astros. We are going to get Montero. And then we are also going to get Dylan Coleman, who some control issues, obviously. I mean, he walked 10 per 9 with 8 innings in AAA. But, he didn't walk that much when he was in Houston in 14 and third innings. He didn't walk that much in AA. Not that that really matters because he's 28 in AA. Obviously, he's going to dominate. But, he's a guy we could use. 80 grade fastball, 80 grade slider, 75 grade stuff. I mean, that's nasty. The guy throws 100, former Royal prospect. He's below 30. He's got 2 option years left. The exact type of guy we want in our bullpen. And then another lefty here in Bennett Sousa. Another lefty. He is also not even arbitration eligible, making the minimum. He's got 2 solid pitches with good stuff. League average movement, league average control. And he also has 1 option year left. So another guy, controllable, and has flexibility in the bullpen. Also a high leader. But we're doing it. Picking up some more arms to help our staff this year and getting out from under that Robin Stevenson contract for next year. And then also the Quijada trade did indeed go through. They wanted me to throw in just a nobody prospect, so we did that. They've got this guy. Good luck. If he develops, if this guy comes back to bite me, I mean, I don't know. At that point, what do you got to do? You just got to shrug and be like, all right, you got me. You had me. You pulled off some devil magic. I've also tried to get rid of Tyler Anderson here, and I just don't think I don't think we're gonna be able to get anything for him. So I feel like he's probably just gonna be in our rotation again this year. I don't really want to run it back with the same rotation, but right now it's looking. Oh, I had Tyler Anderson already in there, but right now it's looking like 4 of these 5 guys are going to be the same from last year. Like Detmers, we do want in there. Obviously, we're extending him. Griffin Canning, we're fine with for 1 more year. Tyler Anderson, and then Silseth. I mean, if Anderson is another, if he gets a little bit of boost from a little bit of a better defense, we get some better shortstop play, I can see that working out. He eats some innings. Silseth, I believe in this profile. I do. I think he could be a solid pitcher. So, maybe he gets a boost. The FIP goes down a little bit. He gets a little bit of a boost from some better defense. I believe in that. We can probably try to add another starter, buy low starter, because we don't have the most money to spend here. But we will definitely be attempting to add another starter once we get to free agency. I should also mention we have another interesting arm. We had this guy in our system all last year. He pitched for Oakland in 2023, and he was recovering from Tommy John. It doesn't say that in real life. Or what did it say in his injury history? Yes, he was recovering from Tommy John all last year while just in our system. So I like his profile. Extreme ground ball, throws really hard. He's another interesting under 30, flexible, controllable reliever that we have who is now a part of our mix here in the bullpen. I'm already liking our bullpen situation a lot more than I did last year because I've added my touch to it. I'm liking it. I'm liking what we're seeing here. We'll see. I probably won't be doing any more trades here before we get to free agency. I also made sure to re-sign Cannon Smith and Jigba, who we will be promoting into the 40-man roster here soon. But yeah, we also got our waiver claims of Liberatore and Victor Vodnik. So we're just swimming in arms right now. And we are now at the point where the awards have been given out. So we can see here the National League MVP, Elly De La Cruz, with 30 first place votes. I mean, the guy was absolutely insane this year with an 8 WAR. Elly's for real, man. Elly is for real. The American League, Wyatt Langford. I mean, just the kids showed up this year. Wyatt Langford with a 6 WAR, 151 WRC plus, 40 bombs, 50 doubles, 22 swiped bags too. I mean, just insane. Jackson Holliday with the 7 WAR. Honestly, you could make an argument he got snubbed. You can make an argument he got snubbed. Was he good defensively? He was good defensively. You could make an argument that he got snubbed. But Wyatt Langford does edge him out for the MVP. Then in the Cy Young, Yamamoto has won the best pitcher award. I did rename it Cy Young, yes. Cy Young, Yamamoto, followed by Quintana, which is surprising, but Yamamoto does get the 31st place votes. Shane Bieber, followed by Skubal, gets the American League Cy Young. The National League skipper, Brian Snitker. The American League skipper, Bruce Bochy, fellow Giant Headman. Best newcomer, Yamamoto, gets Rookie of the Year. And the Cy Young, Chorio finishes behind him. Then Wood, Merrill, Bryce Jarvis. American League top rookie, Langford, Holiday, Carter. I mean, that's ridiculous. And then also we have... wait. Okay, I saw Churio, and I was like, they traded Jax? They just traded him? No, this is a different Churio. That's, I had a little bit of a jump scare for a second. National League Silver Sluggers. There you have the names there. Nothing really surprising. American League Silver Sluggers. Nothing really surprising. But then the reliever of the year, you've got Edwin Diaz in the National League, Jojo Romero on here, Yuki Matsui, Hunter Harvey in St. Louis. The American League reliever of the year, Pete Fairbanks, Yenier Cano, Emmanuel Clase, Josh Hader, just 4 names we all know. Way more fun in the National League with the list of names. And then when it comes to the National League Gold Gloves, I mean, James Outman in center field is pretty surprising. What was his ZR? 8 ZR? I feel like there's probably a center fielder better than that. That's a bit of a Dodgers bias, if you ask me. Joey Gallo, though, love to see that. Striking out 40% of the time, but putting up a... Yeah, I don't think he should have won that. I don't think he should have won the left field Gold Glove. But you know, that's just me. That's just me. The American League Gold Gloves, Johnny DeLuca in center field. That is... What? What is... I've noticed some funky stuff with the Gold Gloves this year, but nothing quite like that. Nothing quite like that. Some real funky stuff going on. That's a bit weird. I mean, we know Baez was really good with the 22 ZR. I mean, everything else seems fine. Trevino, I mean, 16 framing runs, yeah. George Springer. It's always or I guess he had the 9 ZR in right field. That makes sense. Stephen Kwan, 7 ZR in left field. That makes sense. But I mean, what are we doing? What? I don't understand how this can even. Is it because of his arm? Did he win Gold Glove because he had the? I've never seen an arm that high, to be honest with you. But I mean, that has to be it. That has to be it. Where they're seeing the arm and they're like, "Oh, that's a great arm," even though his arm, scout wise, is not great. It's exactly league average. That's strange. But anyways, while I was also looking at here, I saw a couple interesting trades that we're looking in through here. One of them being the Orioles traded for Jazz Chisholm. He is now the center fielder for the Orioles. They sent, it looks like the main piece was Silas Audouin, the Cajun catcher from the University of Texas. Decent eye. Interesting because in my Royals save, the Mariners, or not the Mariners, the Marlins traded for Samuel Basallo, and he became an absolute stud for them, and he was hitting like 60 home runs a year for them every single season, while also being an elite catcher. So interesting that they traded for a different Orioles catcher in this sim. And then the other one I saw that stood out to me was Oakland sending JP Sears to Detroit. Detroit getting another, I guess, okay. And they also got this guy, who I guess could be decent, for Justin Henry Malloy, who I guess they don't believe in anymore. Not really sure what the case is there, but Justin Henry Malloy is now in Oakland. Hey, anything for Oakland figuring things out and being a decent team, I am for. But definitely a bit of a weird trade there. But, I'm not going to get too up in arms about that. Just a little funny trade-off for the Pirates sent me here. I'm seeing Endy Rodriguez, and I'm like, oh, okay. Don't really need a catcher, but, I like this guy. I like his profile. Switch hitting catcher. Maybe he catches and we move Hoppy to DH or something like that. Not really plan A that I would consider, but, if it was an interesting enough offer, I would have considered it. But instead, they're like, hey, we'll also give you this guy. And I'm like, okay, this guy stinks. I saw Sean Sullivan, and I thought it was the Sullivan guy who pitches for Wake Forest. And it's not him, obviously. But, and then they're like, well, give us Griffin Canning. And I'm like, okay, well, he's like going to be my number 3 starter this year, ideally, maybe number 2. And then also $7 million in cash. No. Simply realize you're a billionaire, Pirates owner. So I'm just sitting here going about my offseason, and all of a sudden I get an offer from the Boston Red Sox here that is very intriguing to me. And it's even more intriguing that the GM of the Boston Red Sox is like, I'm not thrilled with this. It's like, buddy, you offered me the deal. So Mickey Moniak to the Boston Red Sox, and Moniak is, decent defender in the corners, like all this light blue work ethic, adaptability, low financial ambition. Love the speed. He's a solid, like, 4th outfielder, ideally. I don't really think he's anything more than that. Obviously, he's got some pop in the bat. He can swipe a few bags for you. I don't like his eye at all, and the fact that he strikes out a lot for a guy of this profile. Not the biggest fan of that. Obviously, he crushed AAA last year, but he's just not anything more than like a 4th outfielder, I don't think. And the Red Sox are like, hey, we'll give you Pablo Reyes. I'm like, sure, we could use him. Decent depth piece to have. Maybe he makes the team. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe we waive and DFA him and send him down to AAA at some point. Who knows? But he's got the utility. He can play some corner outfield. He can play some decent, like, second, third base. He's Pablo Reyes. The main piece, though, is Hayden Birdsong, who they traded for at the deadline from San Francisco. And they gave up Mikey Romero. Yeah, they gave up Mikey Romero for him. So yeah, Hayden Birdsong, I mean, this guy looks like he could be a legit starter. So I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, this is what we're looking for here. He's probably not getting the rotation this year. If he is, maybe at the end of the year, he's like going to be in AAA for us as like immediate pitching depth, I would say. But ideally, he pitches a lot more in AAA this year before he gets up into the big leagues. He hasn't even pitched in AAA yet, and it wasn't like he was that impressive in AA. But I mean, my scout really likes this guy. I really like this profile. 4 solid pitches. Everything is green or into this like aqua color. I like this guy. And then they're also throwing on this Yordani Monegro guy, who he's nothing too special, but he's like decent enough, and he was really good in high A last year. Not really good. He was solid in high A last year, and they're like, hey, we'll throw him on. So I mean, I'm gonna accept this. We're gonna trade Mickey Moniak, and we're gonna pick up this Hayden Birdsong guy, and we're doing that. So boom, bada bing, and we are now going to be looking probably in the market for a 4th outfielder, because right now our 4th outfield options, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to having like Jordan Adams as our 4th outfielder. Would not be opposed to that at all. That is an option for sure. Cannon Smith and Jigba, possibly an option. More of a corner guy, obviously, not going to be a center fielder. So ideally, 4th outfielder for me is a guy who can play all 3 positions at least decently well. And then down in AAA right now, we've got somebody like David Calabrese, who's more of a depth option. Orlando Martinez, more of a depth option. Not a 4th outfielder type guy. So we might go around and look in free agency for some 4th outfielders. Oh, baby, we love to see that 47% change in season tickets and 45% change in attendance per game. We love to see it, folks.